Hello again, thank you for joining me for another video. So in today's video we are going to be talking about how to meditate if you have CPTSD. There are some tricks, some tips, some guidelines you can use in the beginning to make it easier. It's often not easy for a person with trauma to sit in silence, because what happens is all that unprocessed emotional baggage, with or without the visual internal images, can come up. So your attention, once released, might cue your subconscious to, I'm safe now. Send me all that stuff I haven't processed. And if you're not prepared for that, the onslaught of these memories that you might have suppressed purposefully or unconsciously because you needed to in order to take the task at hand, whatever was in front of you, had to have primary importance for your survival. It's like beautiful mechanism that puts that stuff on back burner. And if you're not prepared for it to be brought to the front burner, you might get burned. It's a little metaphorical way to think about it. So here are 7 tricks you can use, 7 tips that worked for me when I was in the initial stages of processing, getting used to being quiet, down-regulating my nervous system, getting comfortable in the silence, so that these things as they came up, I could tolerate them until they eventually passed through my system. And now when they come up, I already have a calm, stable memory attached to this memory comes up. Now I have a new memory attached to it. It is where I sat in stability and meditation and processed it. So my body does not react the way the first instance that it happened. I've replaced that memory with a new memory, the meditative stance memory. Hopefully that makes sense to you. Stop and think about what I just said, or replay it until it makes sense. All right, so here are 7 things that I used, which I found really helpful. The number one thing that helps is to use mantra in the beginning. Use mantra. Put your mind on a task. So you're calming, you're like aware of the silence, aware of your body, aware that you're spending time with yourself. You're not dissociating, you're not distracting, you're not ignoring or numbing. You're conscious and present, and in that space of conscious presence, use something to occupy the mind. So you might still feel the effects of emotional release. The urge to cry might come up, some anger might come up, but as you just stay focused on the mantra doesn't mind if these things come up and they go away. They come up, they rise, they pass down the river. So the trick is to find a mantra you're comfortable with. And that's going to be unique to everyone. You don't have to go find a mantra that some other religion has been reciting for thousands of years. You don't need to find a Tibetan Buddhist monk mantra. You don't need to find a Tantric Shaivism mantra. You don't need to find a Christian mantra, although you can use any of those if it makes you feel comfortable. What you need to do is something that you can reliably, consistently say over and over, either out loud or in your mind, and then you pick the timing. Start out with 90 seconds. And what's happening is you're allowing thoughts to pass by you, and you begin to notice that the thoughts aren't you. The thoughts are passing by. Because in the beginning of meditating, there is no separation between the thoughts. There's no separation between the sensations that your body is experiencing. And over time, you begin to realize, oh, I'm a subjective self here that is actually watching these things pass, and not the things themselves that are passing. Because we create a personality profile in our mind, an image, an avatar, which is interacting with the world based on how our body is showing up. And most of how our body is showing up is a result of the past, which we had no choice about. It was just done to us. We were little. What did we know? Okay, so finding a good mantra you can stick with. One of the things I did in the beginning was Sadhguru had a Kriya, and he had it taped so you could follow along with him. It was like 15 or so minutes, not very long. I am not the body, I'm not the mind. And as you breathe in, I am not the body. As you breathe out, I am not even the mind. And if you notice, it's shorter on the in-breath and longer on the out-breath. And if you stay consistently, and like in the beginning, I didn't like those statements. I didn't like to say, I'm not the body, I'm not even the mind. I didn't like it. It made me uncomfortable. And so I would pick different statements that I was okay with. I am a child of God. I can't remember what I did on my out-breath. But it was something that the timing was the same. You know, now I don't care. Now I see a little bit more clearly. In the beginning, I did not. I was still very enmeshed in the tradition that I grew up in. And so for me to not be the body was antithetical to my beliefs that I couldn't tolerate. So you have to find something you can tolerate and agree with, or it's not going to work. It's just going to make you uncomfortable and make you scared the whole time. So, you know, I am a holy child of God. I am one with God, and something to that. Whatever makes you feel comfortable, do that. But the out breath needs to be longer than the in breath. And you practice this for 15 minutes. And then at the end of that 15 minutes, what he had people do was just and what you notice is that there's a vibration here. So you've quieted the mind to finally notice the energy moving and vibrating here. And what it does is it gives you a clear pathway that separates you from the memories and experiences of your past. And it's really effective. And what he suggested was doing that for 40 days in the morning and at night. Or maybe you could only do it. You only had to do it once a day. But for 40 days straight, without missing. And it was really helpful for me to rewire my body. That was one of the first things I did. I'm sure it's still online and you can do it along with him. So that's my first suggestion. Another one that I've done after I did that was visualization meditation. And so this is a little bit more advanced, and I should probably have put this later in the list. But what I did is I focused my attention inside my mind on a wall of flames. And so whenever a thought came by that was uncomfortable, or an emotion, or a memory, I gave all of that to the wall of flames. And so it turned, it was like imagining and visualizing transmutation in my mind's eye. So the wall of flames can be whatever color you want. And the point of the focus, because meditation is about having control in your mind. It's about not being subjected to whatever willy-nilly thing is going to come through and then spark a physical, biological reaction. So it's tolerating the landscape of thought forms without becoming enmeshed in them, which can pull you into a behavior or a habit or a reaction. In order to get the behaviors and the habits and the reactions to stop, you have to get a hold of an understanding about what thought forms are, how they can be sent to you, how they can be a result of your past, how they can be a result of things that you are inputting from movies, from music, from other people's ideas about life and their perspective. And you really have to begin to discern what's yours and what's not yours. So the wall of flames is really helpful for me. I had a lot of stuff to transmute. I had a negative voice that talked nonstop in my mind to me about how horrible I was. And so all those statements, I would just see them go into the flame and become transmuted. And then if I was like, oh, that flame isn't strong enough, that thought went into the flame to be transmuted. And you get good at it after a while. So the purpose is to maintain that focus. And this is an old-timey technique. It's just being altered slightly for somebody who has PTSD and has very specific kinds of thoughts and emergent experiences. So wall of flame in your mind, focus on it, get as detailed or as diffuse as is comfortable for you. You can change the colors, you can have sparks fly up when the thought forms go in there, and anything that comes up, good, bad, or other, can be put in there, because the goal is to see yourself in this more embodied, stable, directive state that has some say in what your inner world looks like. Okay, so another one is basically walking meditation. So in the beginning especially, it might be hard to sit still. It might be really hard to sit still for 15 to 20 minutes. Everybody's a little bit different. And so you can practice walking meditation. You can do it in your own house. Some people call it pacing, but you're not going to be pacing in the way that your body is moving this way and your mind is moving this way. What you want to try to do is get these two synced up so that you are paying acute, in-depth attention to every time your foot lands on the ground. You want to feel the heel and all of the way until the toes touch and lift back off. So it's the same concept of when you're watching your breath, except for it's allowing the body to do something. And the way that repeating mantra keeps the mind kind of busy. So we're getting the mind busy on a task of noticing acutely each movement of the body. And so you realize that in the beginning it might be kind of difficult to actually focus, and you have to go slower in order to pay attention to the timing between the heel hitting the ground and the toes lifting off. You have to really focus the mind to notice each one of those in turn, because we tend to notice these things kind of globally. We're paying attention to the things that are moving as we're walking, and not necessarily where our foot is hitting the ground. So that's actually a really good technique for training the mind and becoming more focused. That takes into account sometimes we're so used to fight or flight, our body has so much extra energy attached to it that we need to do a physical thing while we're retraining the mind. And so if you're not able to focus that much, you can still do a walking meditation, but you might need to do something like count the trees as you're walking. So if you're walking in an area that has trees, so if there's no trees, you have to pick a different thing, and then just count. So you're staying really present in your environment, getting grounded in your environment, and keeping your mind. You're choosing what your mind is focusing on. That's kind of the goal in the beginning of meditation, is harnessing the mind back to your service as opposed to kind of willy-nilly chaos. You're ordering the mind and getting used to controlling it. You know, as you came up as a baby, you learned to control the body. Now you're getting control of the emotions and the mental space. All right, so another one that's really good is tapping as meditation. So especially in the beginning, when you might be processing a lot of emotional baggage and cellular debris, and maybe toxins are clearing out of your body and the signals are uncomfortable, you might feel like crap. There's a bunch of tapping meditations on YouTube that you can find. It's really just basically you're right here under the eye sockets, under the nose, under the lips. Then you're going to the collarbone. And then you're going, I don't know if they do one at a time, under the, like right under the armpit here. And I think tapping on the top of the head then. And you do this like circuit where you just keep doing this And as you're doing it, you can say out loud what you're experiencing. So, you know, something along the lines of, I'm trying to make a YouTube video and I feel a little nervous that I'm talking too much. So I'm experiencing some bigger emotions and tension, and slight worry, and that's a totally normal emotion to have, and it's totally safe for me to have it. I'm okay with having big emotions because humans are emotional creatures, and I'm safe even when I have big emotions, and I'm proud of myself for doing it anyways. Way to go, self. That's an example. And then you just keep going through it, and there are people who do this for you online, and you can just follow along with them, and it helps you to stay grounded at the same time, present of your body at the same time that emotions and mental space are happening. So, because what happens is we dissociate. So our body becomes processed over here, our mental state is processed over here, our emotions are this whole other thing, and it's hard to feel like a coherent sense of self when one part of you is reacting to the past, another part of you is reacting to what somebody said, and then the body is having a totally different experience. So getting yourself grounded into one moment and practicing that for 5, 10, it doesn't have to be a lot. It can take 5 minutes, literally. 5 minutes tapping through. And if you don't want to say things and you just want to have the experience of tapping with no words, you can do that too. But that's a good way to get your body used to meditating in the beginning. All right, so then another one that I used a lot was I would watch Reiki videos. So there's a girl I'm watching right now named Sareiki, so Sareiki, and the way that her hands are moving closer and farther from the camera gives me something to watch. So the goal for me is to have I'm having a calm time. I'm having 15 minutes where I'm not focused on whatever is stressing me out. I am focused on what does it feel like to be calm for 10, 15 minutes. And so in the beginning, I still use this today. If you have a hard time getting your body to sit still and used to being calm, if you've lived in trauma, especially if you grew up in it, your body is wired differently. You notice everything, every little tiny thing, you notice it and notice your reaction to it. You are constantly interacting with the environment in a totally different way. So getting used to being calm is something you have to train yourself to do, and you can. And it's necessary in order to get into the deeper states of meditation. You have to be able to downregulate your body and tolerate being still, being totally still and being totally quiet. It's actually a skill you have to learn how to do, especially if you did not have a peaceful, calm environment as a child. Totally possible to do also. So you can find a person who does Reiki that you vibe with, and that might change over time. Just to be clear, sometimes you can vibe with someone in the beginning when you're really like dense and freaked out, and then later on you're like, ew. It changes according to how much you've already processed and where you are in that development, in your own spiritual development and maturity and clearing. And yeah, so that's who I'm watching right now. I like the vibe she brings to it. I like to watch her hands. So sometimes we can't close our eyes. So if you have someone that you don't mind on a video, that you vibe with a little bit, and you can just, for that 15 minutes, you're just watching what they do. You're watching their hands. You don't have to believe in Reiki. You can just calm yourself in a safe environment to watch for 15 minutes and non-inputty things. You're not getting words. You're not having like a whole bunch of input. It's just to calm your nervous system. I do believe in Reiki. Reiki helped me tremendously. I think it is getting in touch with the life force and the intelligence of love and healing. So we tune our mind, we tune our body to the potential to heal via spiritual energy, and the Reiki master is someone who is reminding you that it's available. That's how I view Reiki. It helped me a lot. And so I highly recommend, when you're ready for it, watch Reiki videos. It'll clear out the debris. That's what their job is to do, is to energetically clear your space. In the same way you would hire a housekeeper to come clean your physical space, but these people are doing it for free online. So she's the one I like right now. There are many others. Find the one that really, ask for a little divine guidance to get connected to someone offering it for free online, and use that as meditation, especially if you're having a hard time with processing traumatic memories or cellular debris or too many emotions or too much stress, to get your body a break from all of the chemicals that are released inside, the hormones that are released inside, the tension of the muscles, so you can actually relax and allow the natural healing ability of the body to come through and help you. Okay, and so then this would be a more advanced one. I saved it for the last. Did I do the 4 directions? Oh, I did not. So here's another one that I learned in the beginning, and I believe it was Thich Nhat Hahn. And he did a meditation, and I really liked it, and then I adapted it to my own, my own preferences. But the idea behind it is really awesome, and it's basically you're training your mind to focus on specific things. And so I think the way he said it was like, I am a mountain, or I am mountain. And in my mind, I connected the hardest parts of my body, my bones, into all of the rocks and mountains and strength on earth, right? All of the physical strength on earth. And that whole vibe of just recognizing my own stability, so both a metaphorical and the actual tangible physical connection. One of the things that happens in trauma is you become more and more and more isolated. So if you take your base level, what am I actually composed of, and reconnect there, out of your mind space, out of your emotional space, into the depth of connection to your true interbeing with this planet. So you start with mountain, with the calcium that's in your bones, with the phosphorus that's in your bones, magnesium, all of the stuff that's in your bones, that you also find in our rock kin, right? In the mountains and layers of sediment that are throughout the planet. And you can connect into that. For a few breaths, you just contemplate that. You just imagine that level of reality on earth that you know to be real, and you are part of it. You are made of the same stuff. And then the next one was water. And water, I think the way he said it was, I am calm water. And so when I would imagine a calm lake, a calm pond on the top of a mountain, and the light reflecting off of it, and you just imagine your own conscious light reflecting off of this lake of your emotions that's connected to all water on the planet. And then you just do that for a few breaths. And then you also do that with air, and that's like your mental space. I am air. And you just imagine all of the air on the planet that you are actually literally connected to. It's part of your inner being, and you are connected to all of it. And then, what was that? Water, earth. I think I'm forgetting something. Light, maybe? Or ether? Spirit? I like light better, so you can imagine the part of you that is connected to light. So you want to do all the 5 directions. Why am I forgetting one? Earth? Is it earth? Is it plant life? Oxygen? You get the you get the gist. Do that one. Sorry. I haven't done it for a long time, but it was really helpful when I was using that one, reminding myself that I was made of the earth. I was made of air, it was made of water, it was made of spirit, and I was connected to all of these things. And then to just for a few breaths contemplate it, actually see how I am made of these things internally and how they are showing up externally. And it helped me to feel connected, even if I didn't really feel connected to humans or society, or if I was stressed by the relationships I have had and was currently having, and responsibilities and all of that. It's like putting all of that aside for a moment and focusing on the connection that I actually have to my body and this planet and the life force that is abundant here. All right, so this is the last one, is a bit more of a practical meditation technique, and it's called the bee breath. I don't know how to say it. I think Bhramari is the real pranayama version of it, but it's basically humming. So think of bees and think of humming, and it really helps to calm the nervous system and engage that. So we have fight, flight, and rest and digest. So you want to engage the resting state, because that's where recovery happens. Recovery and cellular turnover, that's where that happens. And so there's 2 ways to do this, and you have to do what's comfortable for you. So I've done it a few different ways. Basically, you're breathing in and you're humming on your out breath. And you can do this, actually when you hum out, you can hum and then exhale for an extended period of time. And that is really, really helpful for getting calmed down. So you can also combine this with, hand postures. I think in the beginning I would do this in the 4 directions. So I would stand, I would face the, I don't remember if I started in the south or the north. Pay attention to what you're doing, because it has different implications and meaning. I connected it at that time to different archangels that for me represented each of the 4 directions, including upper, including lower, and including inner. And I would just do that, breathe in and out in each of the 4 directions. I think sometimes I would, breathe in, put my arms up, breathe out, put them behind me. I would modify it whatever I needed at the time to keep my body flexible. So it was just like something about that humming helps to tune the mind really directly to the body. So I think originally what another way to do this is, these are going to go onto your eyelids. This is going to go right here on either side of your nose, under your nose, down here, and then you're going to right on that little part that comes out of your nose on your eyelids. And you'll notice as you're doing this that you can kind of shut out the whole world. And it makes you feel really, really safe if you do it right. There's this like little bubble that opens up inside of you. And in that little bubble, you breathe in. And you just imagine filling that bubble with the sound of them. And it's actually really calming if you just do a few of those in the morning and at night. Especially if you're processing stuff, try to remember to do that one. It's one of the most effective tools that I used, especially in the beginning, to reorient myself to safety, calm, and comfort. So I hope that some of these ideas have helped you. Meditation is a process of practicing, and you have to put your time in to get really good at it. In the beginning, you need certain kinds of tools, and that will change over time. Now I'm able to sit, and depending on how I hold my hands, It's enough to get me into that calm, silent state where it really is true silence. And then that silence grows, the calm nature grows, and as you're interacting with reality, it doesn't leave. And you notice it everywhere. And then you notice that kind of true eternal self become more and more obvious to you. All right. So take care. Until next time, feel free to leave any questions or comments below. I did also want to mention that I am using my Patreon page now. You can just join as a free member, and most of my writing is going to be put there. I will do pre-release, so if you are a tiered member, you'll get early access. I also have a book of spiritual poetry and thoughts that come with one of the tiers. So if you're trying to get more content from me, that's the place to do it. Lots of free stuff there. So I hope you are well, and I will see you next time. Take care.